Hello and welcome to the Violet Maynard Show. Today we'll be visiting with a group that's based in the central Ohio area that has been involved in gospel music for over 30 years. So today we welcome the Spiritual Echoes. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. It's good to be here with you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Rick, you are one of the founding members of this group?
Yes, yeah. We started back, and the group was actually formed in '82. They didn't select a name until '83. That's the year I came along. We started out as a quartet. 3 ladies and a bass singer. The bass singer they had at the time, he didn't stick around for very long, so they needed somebody, and I was 16 years old at the time, and I asked if I could do it, and so they let me in.
Great.
And we've been going strong ever since. It was about 34 years, 35 years now.
Okay. The current style of music that you do, is that the same as what you did when you finished, or do you have a combination style of music that you're doing now?
It's evolved a little bit. We did probably more of a bluegrass, hymn type of country, gospel type of stuff back then. We still do that now. That's my preferred music style, but it's a little southern, it's a little country, it's got a little bluegrass kick to it. We've asked ourselves, what kind of music is this we're playing? It's a little variety of little everything kind of mixed in. And it's great. It works out great. And we're pleased with the sound that we have. And it is what it is. I don't know how else to describe it.
So you have something that you offer to all different tastes of interest of gospel music.
We are trying. We've got he comes from more of a contemporary praise and worship background. He comes from rock music background. He used to be in a rock band. I grew up with bluegrass, country, southern. He's more bluegrass from the hills of Kentucky. And
that's a good place there.
So it's we just kind of do our own thing with the music. We try to do our own arrangements. We'll take a hymn out of the book, and they'll just start playing some music and be like, oh yeah, let's do this to it. And we try to kind of keep it fresh.
Okay, and then everybody contributes to what's going on to each of the songs
absolutely.
That you pick out. So you play instruments also, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you said you started out on the bass. Are you currently playing the bass with the group, or do you?
Well, when I first started, I was like barely learning the piano.
Okay.
So bass I'm not that great on. I can do a little simple stuff on it, but these guys are more flexible. They switch off. They play bass. They play guitar. They can tell you about that. But I'm the piano guy now. So, when I was very young, I was about 9. I took lessons for a year on playing the piano, and it wasn't working out too well. He would show me, the teacher would show me the sheet music. We'd go over at the church, and we'd sit down for half an hour or whatever on Tuesday nights, and he would teach me how to read the notes, and then he would give me the week to practice it. And then the following week he'd come back, and I had memorized it.
Okay.
And we would be over at the church, and he'd be laying in a pew listening to me playing. He's like, you're not reading the notes. You're playing by ear.
Right.
You memorized it. And he goes, I don't want you to do that. So after about a year of that, I wasn't getting anywhere. And he was getting frustrated with me. So I was like, okay. So I started praying to the Lord. By the time I was 12, I said, Lord, I want to play. And will you teach me? And I don't consider myself the best piano player in the world, but it's the style that God gave me. It's what He apparently wanted me to have. I made one mistake when I was asking God to teach me how to play the piano. I specifically told the Lord, I just want to play. You don't have to let me play like Anthony Berger.
Oh my goodness.
But I just want to play. And I wish now I'd not said that to her.
A little bit more specific, right? Say, I want to be one of the...
I want to be just like Anthony Berger, even better than Anthony Berger. Anthony Berger was great. He was phenomenal.
He was.
And of course, there's so many good ones out there even still. But people will tell me they really like to hear me play, and it's like, really? You do?
Right.
I just do my own little thing, but it's what God gave me, so... And He's kept us going. He's kept us on the road for about 34 years, I guess, 35.
That's great.
So I'm very thankful. The thing that I really like is that God has he knew what he was doing all along. And it's really kind of cool when you really think that God gives you a talent and he expects you to use it. But not only does he expect you to use it, he knows you will. He trusts you to carry out that. And it's a big responsibility, but at the same time he's given us hearts of adoration for it. We admire it. We cherish it. And we have a lot of fun with it. So and I just couldn't be any more thankful. I'm so glad that God has been so good to us in that aspect, to trust us with carrying out the music ministry. And and I sang with my mom. I started out with her, and then so traveled with her for many years, many years, about 31, I'd say. And the Lord called her home about 4 years ago, and it was a turning point. I had a lady that was, I didn't know it at the time, but she was preparing to leave the group and move away. So I was like, oh Lord, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? Right. But I always knew that the Lord trusted me to carry it out. Right. And I told the Lord, I said, you keep the doors opening, and you keep us moving in the direction. You keep the calls coming in, and you keep the churches interested in having us. Right. And as long as you do that and you make the way, I'm going to keep going. So, and I'm glad that I have, because our music has evolved even in the past 4 years. It's totally transitioned. These guys contribute a lot to that, and I couldn't be any more happy. If I don't have my mom with me, I'm happy. I'm really thrilled to be doing this.
Right. Well, it's exciting to know this group has been working and serving the Lord for so many years, because so many times you see, you'll see a group's name and then it won't be there anymore. Right. You see a lot of transition in groups, and that's part of the world today. But it's very exciting, because I remember back years ago with you and your mom. Yeah. So, and now to see what the group is involved into is just a blessing to me. And by the way, your piano playing also I enjoy. So just so
I enjoy yours too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
But these gentlemen haven't been with us as long as the group.
Right.
So they're newer to the Spiritual Echo. So why don't you introduce your band members here, and let us know what they do in the group. Or they could actually tell us if they like what they
you
do
guys
in the
talk
group,
so. Okay. This is James Tiller. He's from Lockbourne. Okay. He's been in the group about 8 years, I think. And I'd known his wife since we were kids. So he married one of my classmates and one of my little town neighbors.
Right. Okay.
And met him at Lowe's one day, and then came to his church to sing, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, and I heard him sing and play guitar, and I told him, I said, hey, if you ever think about being in a group, look me up, call me, and that's what happened, but he can tell you more about that. And this is Charles Hatfield. He's from Columbus too. He plays guitar, and you can tell him more about what you do. He plays several instruments. And it's nice to have the switch off, and have. It's only the three of us. I'm pretty much stuck on the keyboard, but these guys, they come up with their own styles of playing.
Great.
It works out great.
Wonderful. Okay, well, James, let's learn a little bit more about you, because I also know that in addition to playing with the group, you're also a minister.
Yeah, I've been a minister for, I think, about 12 to 13 years now. And this is my home church. This is God's Holiness Community Church in Obetz, Ohio. Obetz is a suburb of Columbus, a growing suburb. I lived quite a bit of my life here and just moved to Lockbourne probably about 6 years ago. And met Rick. He says Lowe's, because we have a little joke we talk about where he was a customer service person, and I joke that he gave bad customer service. But that's not the truth.
So then you ended up with him in the group. Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's not so bad at customer service after all. Thank you.
Gotta go help him out, right?
Yeah, we have this little joke every once in a while about that, and he came to our church. His mom and his, I think another lady, came to the church on New Year's Eve service, and I was just blown away by their harmony. I said, wow, that's a really good harmony, and his piano playing, I was impressed with that, and then that same night I got up sang a few songs, and then at the end, like Rick said, he asked if you're interested in joining the group, and I made sure they practice. I said, do you practice? Because I've been in groups before that are really good, but they think they're too good to practice. Yeah. So I think you get better by practice. Right. Anything you do, you have to just keep practicing to get better at it. So he goes, yeah, we practice. So showed up on their practices, and he goes, "Can you play the bass?" And I said, "I've never played the bass before, but it's probably like the guitar." So I started playing the bass with him for a while. And
You started strumming at first. I'm like, no, you can't do that.
That's a guitar, right?
I kept trying to hit the two strings that were there, trying to do a lead. And, "Where's my strings?"
Well, I see you guys have a lot of fun.
Oh,
right?
we do. We cut up all the time.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. Christians shouldn't just be.
That's right.
I think the world has this perception that Christians are just too stuck up. They're too perfect, but we're not. We're just human people trying to get to heaven and trying to live as best as we can. And we do like to have fun. And I want people to see that from us, because what you see is what we are. We cut up all the time.
Right.
And but we do take the ministry side of it seriously. But go ahead, I didn't mean that.
Sorry. So started playing with them, and for me, the first time I started playing music was I played in rock bands and heavy metal bands back in the '80s, and we had a CD. It was kind of big in Germany, believe it or not.
Wow,
They say we're the David Hasselhoff of metal. Big there, so never did get to go over to Germany. Was invited, but it's kind of like, well, how are we going to get over there? And all this. But anyway, so years later, really late in life, probably late 30s, I found the Lord and started picking my guitar back up. And ironically, at this church, there's a guy that's a deacon at the church. I used to practice in his garage in our band, and he said, "James plays guitar." But our assistant pastor here was one of my best friends, and he said, "James plays guitar, but you don't force him to do it. Just let it work out. He'll probably end up playing guitar." So I started playing guitar, started singing. We went to a church, I think it was in Mount Sterling, and it was the first time I'd ever really played and sang acoustic guitar, and I was singing a song, and this young lady came up to the altar just screaming, and went down the altar, and I had this look on my face. I looked at the guy next to me, and he goes, "That's all right, James. That's what we're supposed to be doing." So then I was kind of hooked after that point. It was like, if I can lead people to the Lord, that's really what it's all about, and that's why I do this. It's not, and I always joke that I make people cry. I like to make people cry, but I like to look out and see people's faces and see the enjoyment. Just we were playing last night and Washington Courthouse, and just looking at the different faces, it gives me a blessing to see that, to see people that, because there's different expressions. You're happy, you're clapping, you're crying, or whatever the emotions of that. And I really enjoy that. So I enjoy leading people to the Lord, because, like I said, that's what it's about. Is any kind of ministry that will lead people to the Lord, and we hope to do that through song. And occasionally we see people come to the altar, and you like to see more of it, and try to move people. And I had a guy at this church tell me that of all the people, I'm the only one that moves him. And I thought, that's a pretty good compliment. I was in another church, and the guy says to me, he goes, I've heard people that their fingers are anointed by the Lord, but the first person I ever met. So I thought, wow, that's not my compliment, that's the Lord's compliment. So I started thinking, does he actually anoint our fingers? Does he anoint your ears? So kind of like the day of Pentecost. Right. Were they speaking, or were they hearing that? So that's kind of a little, we always wonder which way it is. And I believe it's both. I believe it's he does anoint our fingers, and I believe that people do hear, that, and it's all the Holy Ghost, it's the Holy Spirit, moving through us, and with his fingers on the piano, and that's why people enjoy it. And always wondered if to other people does it sound like a bunch of noise, but the Lord says make a joyful noise unto the Lord. So if we're joyful doing it, then that's what the Lord expects from us, and that's what He wants.
We when you're doing Christian music and you're in front of a group of people, you're only playing or singing to two people, either saints or sinners. And to the saints, our goal is to offer encouragement and hope, and keep them wanting to serve the Lord, motivate them, keep them encouraged. To the saints, we just hope the only thing we can do is share Jesus with them, and introduce Jesus to them, and introduce them to Jesus. We can't do any more than that, but we hope that our music, that God anoints it in a way that it goes into the ears however it's supposed to minister to that individual.
Amen.
And we see it happen time and time again. But yeah, we're encouraging Christians, and we're hopefully ministering to those who are trying to find Jesus. And that's what it's all about, you know.
That's
Have
right.
fun while we're doing it.
That's right. And I've seen you all perform more than one time, and you all do have a great time on stage. But I also, when I do see you perform, I also feel that ministry that's coming through, and I think that's very important with any group that's out, that's trying to
Absolutely.
minister, that's trying to sing. I think you need to touch hearts and draw them in and draw that spirit in. And I think you all do a great job of doing that as well. So really enjoy your ministry. And then we have Charles over here. And he comes out of Kentucky, right? That's where you're
That's
originally from. I, too, am from Kentucky area. With coming out of Kentucky, I know that is a state that is full of musicians and music.
Right.
And why don't you let me know some of your influences and possibly how you got started playing in gospel music?
All right. I was about 18 years old, and I picked up a bass for the first time. Knew nothing about it, but I had my heart set on learning, and at the time I wasn't a Christian, so I was into more of the rock and metal music. But then I was 21, I got saved, and God completely changed my life around and completely set new goals in my life. So I joined the gospel group, really stuck with it for a long time, and then eventually that group broke up, and so I just played music at my home church. And then one day Rick came in, and he said, "Hey, why don't you just play with me?" And from that point on, we've been like glue.
Making good music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We are like glue.
Well, it's really interesting. The catalyst here is, and again, it's God putting this together, and
Right.
that's what I've seen just by what you're telling me today, is that God, you pray to God to keep this group going, and I'll do whatever you want me to do, however you want me to do it, I'll get there and do that. And then he directed you to James, he directed you to Charles, and now you have a group that you guys are brothers.
Very much so. I spend more time with them than I do my own family, and weekend after weekend after weekend, we're either practicing
Right.
or we're at church some days,
Right.
and it works out great. His wife is supportive of him
That's
to
great.
help us out, and we go wherever the opportunity and the need arises. We'll be there, unless something would happen, and that's
Right.
something nobody looks forward to.
Well, if somebody's interested in booking the Spiritual Echoes, how would they get in touch with you?
They can call.
Okay.
My number is 614-595-9776. We have a website or a web page through Gospel Gigs. It's www.gospelgigs.com/The Spiritual Echoes, ECHOES. A lot of people leave the E out of there.
Right.
But and it's Echoes, and those are probably the two best ways of getting
Or
a hold of us.
Facebook.
And we do have a Facebook page too, so yes, and they can contact. Our contact information is on there too, The Spiritual Echoes,
Okay.
and we try to keep it updated and put something out there every week. We try,
Right.
and but Gospel Gigs, if you go to that website, you'll read a little bit about us.
Okay.
Scroll down, and our schedule is at the bottom of that page, and we update that very often.
Regularly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was out looking at that page, and I was looking at your schedule just recently because I like to keep up with folks that I know and where they're traveling. I noticed you have a lot of revivals on your schedule, and I know back in earlier years, revivals were very common, and for if anywhere from the minimum was a week.
Right.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
it could be 2, 3, sometimes even up to a month.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting that you all are still involved in revivals. And I saw that on the schedule they were at least a week long. So looking at that in the history of gospel music and how it's changed, and any of you can answer this question or give me your input, but how do you think that the times have changed as toward gospel music ministry, and now how are some of these churches doing some revivals but not? So just give me your thoughts on what you think that's changed in gospel music ministry today.
Who wants to go first?
The revival we're doing next week is at this church.
Okay.
Starting on Thursday, we try to do, it's kind of mini revivals, 4 days. We do 2 a year. We did 1 a year for many years. And then I started thinking in wintertime, nobody's doing anything anyway, so we decided to have a February revival, and that's done pretty well. And we do pretty well with the revivals. I like going to other churches and revivals because you get to hear different kinds of preaching and see people move, because revivals seem to bring in people that don't normally go to church. I mean, we always constantly invite people to church, but most of the time they don't show up. I'll be there, then, you know, I've got to the point to where I'm not looking for them, but when they show up, I'm really happy and surprised. But revivals seem to get people out because even with the group, there's always some type of entertainment for people, or there's the preaching, and they get both of it.
Right.
But I know a lot of churches don't have revivals anymore. I think that's failing to happen, and there's a lot less longer things. I've personally not been in a revival that's been over a week, but yeah, I've heard stories about going on for a week and just keep going. And we've heard people say that recently. You know, we just kept going for 2 weeks, and I'd like to get involved in one of those.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened yet. But,
It's
and sometimes the revivals, even the short revivals you have here, it's 4 days. And I wish we'd go another day, but you know, it's one we do in August. We have a preacher comes from Dover, Delaware. You know, he's going to get back home and his church, and it's kind of, you know, not convenient for everybody, especially if you end on a Sunday. Everybody's got to work Monday, but you know, everybody has busy lives. But you know, when you're just going for the Lord, I mean, that gives you energy. And I always picture church being like a battery charger. It's like we're cordless drills or whatever, flashlight. Like flashlight's probably a better way to put it, because we're supposed to be a light.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't charge that, it's going to go dull.
Right.
So that's where I think all the Christians meet together and they get recharged.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you just kind of you charge your light, and you get a lot brighter out in the world by coming to church. Because a lot of people say, yeah, you don't have to go to church, be a Christian. And I run into people constantly all the time. And then I throw a question back to them, what are you doing to serve the Lord? Because it's really all about service and serve the Lord. And most of them don't have an answer. And well, think about it, because you need to serve the Lord, and you could do that in church. And church doesn't mean we come and we sit down and sit in the pews and listen to the preacher. It means we get involved in some way or the other. That whether it's helping somebody, or you know, preaching or singing or giving a testimony, because testimonies are great. Because a lot of people will sit on their hands and hold back that testimony. You should never do that, because that's encouraging for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, it says, the Bible does say you're overcome by your testimony, by the words of your testimony, and really you are, because that's personal to you. A lot of people don't want to get out witness, but you don't have to know Scripture, you don't have to know the Bible, you just tell them what happened to you. Hey, this is what happened to me. I was on the road to Damascus or whatever, which that'd be awesome to have Paul's testimony, but you know, we all have our testimonies, and maybe it's not as powerful as somebody else, but it really means something to you, and everybody needs to hear your testimony, you know, no matter who you are.
Testimonies will revive you.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, and I get a blessing out of people's testimonies. Everybody's got a story to tell.
Right.
But everybody wants to hide it.
That's
And you know, people don't like to speak up, I guess, in front of other people a lot, but your story could inspire somebody else, and it could certainly help somebody. And we were recently in a service where we know this lady, and she's fairly quiet, and she was telling that she had a furnace man come out to her house. And she said that just the Lord spoke to her and said, "You've got to witness to this guy." And she went on and on. And by her doing that, she caught the young man's attention. And he had questions for her. So you never know what your story, the seed that it will plant in somebody's life and heart. But we live in a day and age where Satan's out there. He's trying to destroy, and that's his job, is to destroy. And that's what he does. And it takes away a lot of focus and attention from the church. Everybody leads these busy lives. And we have to remember that we need to make as much time for God as we do for everything else. Actually, more time for God. Because he's so worthy, and he deserves our attention.
Yes, he does.
24 hours a day. And it's a struggle to get that across to people, to get them to open up and realize who God is and what he wants to do in their lives. And but you know, like I said, he's trying to destroy and he's trying to distract. And he's got so much out there that distracts. But we just want to remind people, stay focused on everything here is temporary. It's going to pass. This is not why we're living. We're living for a bigger thing that's coming. Right. So that's just what that's what we're all about, you know. And we just hope that we can reach somebody.
That's great. Well, they also have an opportunity to take you home with them, so to speak, after they have you at their event. And or if they want to contact you, you have a new project that's out that also showcases your songs and your ministry. Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that as well?
We do. We started this project probably 2 years ago, and we went in, we recorded our instruments, we gave it to the studio, and we said, do your magic on it. It took a long time. We kept on. You know, how much longer is this going to take? We were so excited. It was only 11 songs. It wasn't like it was 1,100 on the CD, right? But we finally got it back in December. And what we did, we recorded 11 songs. And I think there's maybe four that are hymns, or maybe 6. I don't remember exactly how many's on there, but we did hymns. Okay. And one of the fun things we did was we took these old songs and we tried to give them new life. Okay. And so we had a lot of fun with that. And then some of them, when we got them back from the studio, it's like, oh my gosh, that sounds really different. But we love it. And even though, you know, it's just the three of us on stage in the pulpit or wherever we are, and we want our sound to come across. But we like having the fiddle on there. We like having the drums, because when we're not with them and they're driving down the road in their car, we want people to hear some good music. And we've been debating on, you know, bringing some other people in to play and trying to get as much as that sound out. But that CD is really, really good, and we couldn't be any more happy with it. But there's a lot of there's steel guitar on there, and there's dobro, and there's banjo, and there's ukulele. Oh, wow. And it's just got a little bit of everything on there. But of all the recordings I've ever done, that one suits who we are. There's a little bit of everything on there, and a little bit of different styles. But we're excited about it.
Great. So this is your current project.
That is.
And the title of the project is?
Break the Silence.
Break the Silence. Now, who came up with that, and what is the meaning? Because I know anytime we do a new project that we're putting out to folks, we title it because we want to either some of the songs that are involved, or it has some special meaning to us. So tell us a little bit about the title of this project.
Violet, knowing that we live in this world where you turn on the news and it's like Christians are being pushed away. You know, let's do away with this. Let's do it. And violence all over the world against Christians. Right. And I believe one of the reasons it's like that is because Christians aren't bold. Right. We don't stand up the way that we should. Right. And there for a little while, it's like over a three-week period, I kept hearing people say, break the silence, break the silence. And I'm like, man, we need to write a song about that, because there's a message there. Right. And one night we'd been out to a concert. We got home really late. James left and went home. Charles got his guitar. We sat around the kitchen table, and he started playing some music. And we wrote this song, Break the Silence, in just a short while. And we were doing it to the music, you know. He'd play one chord, I'd be like, no, go to this chord, go here. And we came up with it in a very short while. And it is a song that we hope empowers Christians to stand up and voice your faith and let people understand that we're not going to back down. Our faith is strong. And Christ stood for us, so let's stand for Him. It's the least we can do. And there's a very good message in that song. So we're hoping that it gets out there and people will feel empowered to take that voice back. Because it's time. If we don't do it now, it's just going to get worse. But we have that power within us. We just need to execute it, bring it out, and get it out there.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you to break a different silence. And I know with 3 gentlemen on the road and I know definitely you're a prankster. And I'm pretty sure these gentlemen join right in on that. So give me a good road story when you guys are out traveling, going to your dates, of a good prank that you pulled on each other. Or just a good story.
Okay, I have to think about this one for a minute. Do you know one? Yeah.
Well, we just like last night, we we go to a restaurant, and typically we go out and eat, and they like to take the straws and just take the end off and blow at each other's face while we're looking. So
It's very childish, but that's who we
yeah,
are.
it's kind of silly. But last night we didn't get any straws, so we asked the waiter, "Hey, where's your straws?" The funny thing is, they were drinking coffee.
They want to
did
know
get
why
a
you want
water
a straw,
drink,
right?
yeah.
And there we went from there, right?
They still got to have a straw, so it was like, boom.
I try to catch him when he's looking at his cell phone or he's not paying attention, but he's so used to it now. He's watching me out of the corner of
Keep
his
an
eye.
eye on you. Well, I tell you what, guys, this is a great way to end our interview today. Thank you so much again for joining us on the Violet Maynard Show.
Thank you.
And again, they can go out and look, Google, as we all say, Google the Spiritual Echoes, and they'll be able to reach you. And then your phone number again is
614-595-9776.
all right. Great. Thank you again, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you. It was fun.